Think of all the narrative-spawned riots that have happened in recent years based on loose factual stretches at best, outright lies at worst, like Michael Brown begging, "Hands up, don't shoot," before he was mercilessly murdered. It never happened, but even to this day, you will still see people at protests making the gesture as though it did.
Hands up, don't shoot! Hands up, don't shoot!
More recently, of course, we were told that Breonna Taylor was just sleeping in bed when police shot her dead for no reason. We were told George Floyd never resisted arrest at all. We were told Rayshard Brooks was unarmed and running away. The same goes for Jacob Blake, until the facts came out later to show otherwise, but not quickly enough to help Target or Wendy's or anyone whose livelihood or life itself was burned down in the meantime. And you wonder if a release of Bodycam footage or other evidence right away might have minimized that damage. And it's tempting and justified to think not. These riots are almost never fact-based regardless. They are still putting their hands up and saying don't shoot years after that factual debunking. After all, the facts are still irrelevant in that case. But in at least one story this week, it appears that the facts have actually beaten the activist narrative. And the riots that you'd predict based on these headlines never happened at all. On Friday, the story was breaking in Nashville. It had all the ingredients for a Black Lives Matter flashpoint. A white police officer is wounded and a black woman is dead after a traffic stop turned shootout. The police version of events is that the woman shot at the officer first and the officer returned fire. Both were hit, but only the woman died. And before any of the evidence was out, the woman's mother was already on local news saying she doesn't believe the police department's story.
I don't think my daughter shot him. And why does she have multiple gunshot wounds? I'm not understanding, how did this turn into a shooting and all it was you pulled her over because you're looking for the person the car belonged to? That's my issue. And they need to tell me. They need to explain it to me like I'm a fourth grader. Tell me, why is my daughter dead?
Well, they already did explain it to you like you're a fourth grader. Your daughter shot at the officer first. And the reason she was shot more is because she lost the shootout that she started. I don't say this to mock the lady. Anytime a family member dies unexpectedly, it's natural to want answers. But if it's wrong to blame your daughter for the incident without evidence, it is just as wrong to blame police for the incident without evidence, at least implicitly. Because beyond their rights to due process and a presumption of innocence, just like anybody else, this is how riots start. The emotions flow faster than the facts, and we start victimizing the neighbors before we even know who was victimized in the first place. Except, in this case, this is one of the few cases I can remember where near complete body cam footage of the shooting was released the same day. Before the first night's opportunity to riot, any supposedly legitimate reason to riot was already neutralized. And it looks like Nashville PD had a whole professional production team ready to go, actually. By day's end, they had a narrated video up on YouTube showing body cam and dash cam angles explaining the entire event. The incident started with Officer Josh Baker tailing and pulling over Nika Holbert, the woman driving this black Camaro, because the car is registered to Demond Buchanan, a man with multiple felony warrants out for his arrest. Buchanan has some sort of relationship with Holbert. It's not entirely clear, but he isn't in the car. It's just her. And so Holbert questions the nature of the stop, but there's nothing overtly hostile from either her or the officer, at least initially.
Come back here. I think we're getting off on the wrong foot, okay?
Because I'm really confused on why I'm getting stopped.
He's got several warrants.
Okay, that has nothing to do with me.
You don't know who's in the car.
Nobody's in my car.
Well, now I know that. However, now I'm going to address the other problems.
Okay, so you want my bag and all my belongings.
So just step right back here.
Can I use the restroom?
And then the officer starts searching her backpack. And on first watch, I thought there might be some legal issues or questions with this search. If she's not the suspect, does this officer have probable cause to search the backpack? If she's not being arrested, this can't be a search incident to arrest. So on what basis is he rummaging through her stuff? Dig a little deeper and you'll find the answer. It's not seen in this particular video, and I haven't seen the full unedited body cam footage. Some reports say it's out there, but regardless, according to an independent attorney's analysis of the footage for a local news station, upon initial confrontation, Holbert voluntarily admitted to the officer that she has no driver's license on her and she does have weed in her possession. Now, should that be against the law? Go ahead and have your debate. But the fact of the matter is, it is against the law, and if you openly admit incriminating information to a police officer, that is generally an invitation to search, or at least it establishes probable cause. So the officer goes digging, and he finds a bag of weed.
So it's just in here?
Yes, sir.
This?
Yes.
And you'll notice he asks her. He says, "It's just in here?" And she replies, "Yes, sir." She does not object. This is not an officer forcing himself on an unwilling person. It sounds like he has her consent. And that's consistent with the story that she had volunteered this information to him prior. The officer resumes searching the backpack, and he finds a white powdery substance as well.
Thank you.
And you'll also notice the cop is cool the whole time. He lets her smoke a cigarette. He lets her rummage through her backpack and her car, probably way more than he should, despite repeated requests not to.
Ma'am, stop going through it.
My lighter
Yeah, I'm not done with that, though. Where's your lighter at?
in the car.
13, it
I'll
says
get it
you're
for you in
about
a second.
7 minutes away.
I'll get it for you in a
Church
second, okay?
So you would drive over
right there in
church
your-
at the Dollar General. Can I have you start from 23?
The cop is perfectly nice the whole time, but we do have driving without a license. We do have drug possession, and these are things established not by an illegal search, but by volunteered information. And whether you think that's worthy of an arrest in a perfect world or not, that is what Tennessee law prescribes. And as soon as this officer tries doing that part of his job, the courtesy he's extended to this lady is suddenly no longer returned to him.
Don't put me in handcuffs. I haven't done anything wrong.
Ma'am.
No, don't put me
You're about to get tased.
At this point, I'm not sure what Queen Susan WikiWiki will allow me to show you. She age-restricted the Nashville PD's post of this video, so I'll have to play it safe, but the woman runs back into her car, and the officer starts deploying his taser, and as you can hear, the taser doesn't actually do very much to neutralize her resistance. But still, the officer sticks with it until, as described, the woman chooses to escalate.
Ma'am, put the gun down. Put the gun down.
Screaming, "I didn't do nothing," while pointing a gun at a police officer is an awfully ironic way to go, but that is the fate this woman chose. And even faced with an armed, erratic, crazy lady, this officer still opts for voice commands over lethal force, until she opts for lethal force. When you watch the footage, it is clear. The officer is ordering her to put the gun down. She doesn't. She shoots him first, and he returns fire. This sequence of events is confirmed and indisputable on both the body cam and dash cam angles. And how nice is this cop? He's shot in the torso, bleeding, on his knees, calling for help, and he just lets this lady drive away.
23, I'm hit.
She didn't make it very far, though, don't worry. Only about a block until she succumbed to her injuries and crashed her car off the road. Emergency responders tried to render aid, but she died at a hospital soon after. The officer is recovering. He's expected to survive, and he's said to be in good spirits. And the implication that the escalation was police-caused couldn't be further from the truth. This officer was polite and professional the whole time. He avoided the use of physical force as much as possible, so much so that even when this crazy lady tried to kill him, he still opted to bleed on the street rather than return the favor. He only shot in the hottest heat of a self-defense him or her moment. But you know there exists another reality where this body cam footage isn't out yet or doesn't even exist at all, and instead, Mom's narrative rules the day. And in addition to getting shot, this cop gets smeared as a bloodthirsty racist, and his name and his career are ruined at best. At worst, he's facing legal jeopardy too. But instead, he's getting what's well-deserved: recognition and praise. And I don't just mean from his fellow police officers. I mean from people far and wide just watching the footage on YouTube. If you want a nice white pill for the day, scroll through the comments on the Nashville Police Department's video. I was expecting upvoted posts about how the cop is still to blame and how he should have just let her go and how it was just a drug charge, so why would he even try arresting her at all? But no, instead he's getting credit for his professionalism, his composure, and his restraint against a deadly threat. And the blame for the death is placed squarely and universally where it belongs: on the woman who killed herself with her own choices. Body cam footage is usually framed as a way to protect the citizenry, and it is, but more accurately, it's a way to protect the truth and those on the right side of it. It protects citizens from police abuse, sure, but it also protects police from citizen abuse. Studies show that the implementation of body cams often correspond with fewer complaints filed with police departments, and not just complaints, but potential incidents about which to complain. Officers wearing body cams have also been shown to be less likely to be involved in use of force incidents. Now, is that because abusive cops know they can't get away with it anymore? Or is that because abusive citizens know they can't get away with it anymore? I'm sure it's some mixture of both. But for today, I'm just glad to enjoy a story where the truth actually prevailed, where the right person is getting praise and the wrong person got the justice she deserves, and no uninvolved neighbors had their lives upended by some mob of ideologues with no appetite for the facts. And maybe this case is a blueprint for that outcome going forward. If the mob won't wait for the evidence, shove the evidence in their faces first. Before they burn down your neighborhood, burn down their made-up stories before they ever even write them at all. Metaphorically, Susan. Thanks as always for listening and for supporting this channel. Always appreciate that thoughtful discussion down below, and especially over on Minds, that is at ML Christiansen. You're always welcome to coming out and chat in my live streams. Those are linked down in the description. Looking forward to it. Goodbye.